Hello, everyone. My name is Shiah. I'm the co-founder of AgilePoint. Today, I'd like to discuss a very interesting topic. I'm sure that many of you have heard or read reports about the high percentage of the digital transformation project failed. We'd like to discuss why we think enterprise citizen development could be the missing link to deliver that success. At the end of today's session, we'll learn two things. If you are looking for a local no-code tools right now to enable citizen development in your organization, what are the three must-have characteristics to look for to ensure it will be sustainable? Second, if we can practice citizen development in enterprise, what are the low-hanging fruits that we are able to very quickly create exponential value to accelerate digital transformation? We will use a number of slides. We will build the slides. I believe that will deliver the best experience for you to see how we can connect the dots. Digital transformation has been a reason many organizations have to adopt a lot more software and application development activities today. So how well a company can manage that process and deliver outcomes will directly impact its ability to deliver digital transformation. However, according to McKinsey, more than 70% of the digital transformation initiatives fail. And even they have invested a lot in technology and engaged with a lot more software development and application development. McKinsey has summarized there are three key reasons why digital transformation fails. One is lack of management support, poor collaboration across silos, and lack of employee engagements. Maybe management were looking for more exponential value creation versus just incremental value improvements. And maybe after the investments, the business is still running very much functional silo based, and employee is not excited to get engaged. Forbes has also published a lot of articles. In some of the articles addressing these challenges mentioned that they believe the failure was based to fail adoption of technology. So this could actually imply that some of the companies have actually adopted local and no-code technologies and tools, but it still could not achieve that aspiration. So maybe some of this technology and tools can only really deliver digitization instead of digital transformation. Gartner has further differentiated that to be digital optimization versus digital transformation. I kind of summarize in my own way. So digital optimization is more about deliver incremental improvement to the existing task, process, or model. And digital transformation is enabled to deliver new ways of creating exponential values and new business models. So now when we examine why a lot of this investment in software development, application development to drive digital transformation failed, I like to use a comparison, kind of looked at in the last 40 to 50 years, how hardware and software have evolved. We all know that hardware has continually evolved year after year, decade after decade. But however, software development has stuck in the same paradigm. It always requires very highly specialized skills, very labor intensive. And once you create an application, very difficult to maintain. And it's always rigid, costly, and inflexible. So what exactly is that paradigm we are talking about? As a matter of fact, here's just a very simple illustration to try to kind of describe that challenge. From the get-go, right, this current software development paradigm is really built on top of this business and IT divide challenge that we are dealing with every day. So not only business explain the requirements to developers, and so there's a communication degradation, and the developers have to then translate that into code, and the implementation just become a technical debt. This difficult, costly, time-consuming cycle is also part of the reason that IT is always facing this challenge of ever-rising backlog. Someone may say, wait, I thought we practice agile methodology. Doesn't that help solve this problem? The answer is no. Agile methodology doesn't really change the paradigm. It only enables us to deal with this challenge in a faster cycle. Now let's take a look at if from the traditional business, moving into a digital business, what are the gaps we are facing? Firstly, in a traditional business, we have a centralized IT functions, typically focus on the core infrastructures and major applications and systems. However, when we move into a digital business, we need a lot more fill the gap type of enhancements, applications, solutions that need widespread digitization, task automation, end-to-end connectivities, cross-functional collaborations, and everything. If the companies already exist for some time, then you may already have a good number of legacy applications that you also need to modernize. However, everybody faces the challenge of shortage of developers. So there's one analogy, but in a way kind of describe the situation we are facing here. Kind of take how the transportation has evolved over the years, right? We started out with a railroad being the backbone of the transportation, and we found that just it will get us from point A to point B, but it just doesn't give us that coverage. That's when the highways just came in to supplement that. Now, if we're thinking about is citizen development to actually fill that gap, as a matter of fact, we think there's actually a really good opportunity here. So yes, citizen development could be the missing link to be able to function just like highway supplement railroad, and the citizen development can actually supplement IT. And when we be able to offload IT, and IT could actually leverage its core competence and continue to innovate, right? Just kind of we take railroad now into subway, for example. Citizen development enabled an application to be built without dealing with the coding, hand coding, or code generation, but using a more simple or visual composition and configuration, and it doesn't require highly skilled developers. And so you can create application easy and faster. However, I want to emphasize that many companies only use these two criteria to choose the local tools. As a matter of fact, this is actually gonna lead to why citizen development may not be sustainable. Because if you're gonna only focus on easy and faster, but whatever being created is not easily maintainable, improvable, then this will not be sustainable. So we do need to make sure that besides fast and easy, we also need to make sure the application created are sustainable and future-proof. So when we talk to a lot of IT leaderships, right? So one of the concerns is always if citizen developers will be using the different local tool to create applications, but in the end, how can IT govern that? Because when you run the mission critical operations, if you cannot govern what's being created, you could expose the business to a lot of risk. So the answer is yes. If we are gonna make sure that citizen development can be sustainable in an organization, especially in an enterprise, it must enable IT to be able to implement strong governance. Now let's take a look at the current offerings in the market. Unfortunately, we actually seeing the local tool go into two camps. One camp is local tools built for professional developers such as IT and enable them to be able to deliver a faster development, improving the productivity of development through code generation, but eventually will still lead to technical debt. As a matter of fact, this kind of tool could actually helping you generating and accumulating technical debt even faster. At the same time, for citizen developers who could be a business subject matter experts, there are lots of different local tools, easily hundreds of them, but most of them are built to be task specific or use case specific. And yes, they can fill the gap, but the challenge is eventually they may be able to work in a work group. But if you go into an enterprise, for example, then that's gonna lead to the no-code silos and spots, because all of this task specific or use case specific no-code tools, they're not built based on the same architecture. They're not built to be able to interoperate with each other. And this is all before we still have to deal with the most important, the governance and sustainability gap. So now with that in mind, let's talk about what are the three must-have characteristics that a local no-code solution must provide in order to ensure that the system development will be sustainable. Must have number one, we believe that the local no-code tools should not be separate. They need to be built based on the same architecture, based on the same platform, so that it enables anything being created at the no-code layer that IT can have strong governance. And so we're talking about a strategic platform for both IT and system developers. So if you take that into a more detailed view, at the no-code layer, we want to provide as comprehensive capability as possible. Right? For example, it could be hundreds and hundreds of automation activities to be able to supplement task automation, workflow automation, for example, or integrations. So you're able to very quickly model your process. You'll be able to design your forms and mobile apps, and you have data modeling and look up from multiple different systems and do integration through visually drag and drop and connect, and also be able to create digital experience such as portals and everything. Besides providing this comprehensive out-of-the-box capabilities, this layer architecture must enable IT to continue, maybe to create additional custom no-code activity to extend the platform. So this is a key to ensure that this can be sustainable in the enterprise. Must have number two, to make sure that we can empower system development, can create a lot of applications, and it will be sustainable. We must make sure that it doesn't turn into technical debt. So unlike a lot of tools today, is really leveraging the code generation to create into technical debt. We must look for local no-code solutions that's based on an abstraction framework and model-driven architecture. So in this case here, from design to execution, it will preserve as a model. So when you come back to make improvement, it will still be working in the model. So this is the only way that we can really scale the system development in an organization, especially in an enterprise. So here's just an example of looking at how do we actually be able to create as a model. So when we create an application, typically we involve the UI presentation, logic, and data. So all three key components can actually be drag and drop configured as in the model-based environment, including all the automation, integration activities and this model can then be directly driving execution. So this can never turn into code, have a chance to become technical debt. Must have number three, the local no-code solution we select must not for one specific task or use case. It has to support a wide range of use cases so that we can avoid that sprawl. Right, so in this case here, we don't want specific no-code for spreadsheet and another one for mobile, another one for database, another for form, for example. Right, we want one platform that can really support all these use cases plus all the process-related use cases for both task automation and process automation. So this could be able to digitization at scale, right? This is where a lot of system developers will be the best place to get started, right? But what is being created here now can then be leveraged to create this end-to-end automation. And of course, in between, you can create a lot of collaborative automation, the workflows, and also at the same time, be able to augment RPA, to supplement RPA to deliver more robust human workflows and exception handlings. This slide here covers what we say, not only that you can cover a lot of use cases, one thing also very important to make sure that's a future-proof. So an application being created can be deployed on-prem or in the cloud, or maybe from one cloud to the other cloud without having to go back and refactor or redevelop them. If we know that practicing system development in an enterprise is now possible, so what are the opportunities for us to be able to very quickly create exponential values that will drive and accelerate digital transformation? From the get-go, right? Automation is definitely one of the low-hanging fruits. It's a foundation of digital transformation, and both Gardner and Forrester have already evolved its research to talk about we need to achieve automation at scale. At the same time, McKinsey has published research and mentioned that to achieve digital transformation, one must at the same time to be able to implement an agile operating model. And the implementing agile operating model is by being able to create cross-functional automation and transformation at scale. So this means that we need to be able to enable agile collaboration cross-silo. The user from multiple different functional areas, they are able to collaborate within the process to achieve a shared and common goal. So let's take a look at achieving the agile operating model with the cross-functional automation at scale. What does that look like? So we look at the organization with this functional specific area. So a lot of local no-code tools are all specific about one task or one use case. So they can do incremental improvement at each specific area. But as we talked about, the key here is to be able to very quickly create this cross-functional automation. And this cross-functional automation at scale, as McKinsey has identified, is key to achieve digital transformation. And there's no better people to do this is that the business subject matter expert who become citizen developers, right? Because they know the business, they understand the business dynamics, they understand the business intricacies. And so they will be the best person to be able to implement those cross-functional automation at scale. So now with that in mind, let's look at a few case studies that the organizations has already practicing and achieve this exponential values. So firstly, here's a Fortune 100. They have created like more than 8,000 legacy automation application through the span of about 15 years. Many of this for SharePoint, for other purpose. But at the same time, when they decided that they need to move to Office 365, they realized they need to rebuild all of this automation. So that's when they started thinking about how can they reduce the number of applications, this automation they need to create, and also making sure that they will be future-proof. So they don't need to worry about migrating again. And so this is a way that they use AgilePoint and very quickly create about 2,000 of this future-proof automation application in about 2 years. And they actually be able to do that by leveraging enterprise system development as one of the key enablement. Among these 2,000 automations, they span across hundreds and hundreds of different use cases, because those use cases run the global operation of supporting about 100,000 users. So the whole scalability and governance is all proven. So they achieve digital transformation with enterprise citizen development, and specifically, they were able to consolidate technology footprint. Multiple platforms now become one. Secondly, they actually rationalize application portfolio, right, from 8,000 down to 2,000. Right, I understand that we didn't show the exact ROI number, but you can picture. This is not just about 30% savings or 50% savings. This is really the extreme ROI. And in this case here, there's a story about Gary G. Is very, very interesting. So Gary one day came to our website asking for a trial, and we reached out back to him to try to understand what was the reason he was looking for a trial. And then we realized he said that he worked at this Fortune 100 for more than 15 years in procurement, and but he was laid off during the pandemic. But then he couldn't find another procurement job until he put AgilePoint experience on his resume, and then he got hired the second day. And then that's when we realized that he said when he was in procurement, and he actually learned AgilePoint, and he created about 20 of this procurement-related automations based on AgilePoint. So he was actually a perfect example of this enterprise citizen development is actually working in this Fortune 100, and very, very interesting. So here's another case study here. This is another global company, but very interestingly, they chose to grow their companies by acquiring a lot of subsidiaries globally. Some people actually see that's actually a very challenging route to go. But in this case here, because they actually adopted enterprise citizen development, in a way, they were able to very quickly, each entity, right, create those cross-functional automation. But at the same time, so not only achieving the typical bottleneck benefits, such as what we talk about, cutting down the cost, cutting down the cycle time, and they actually take that to the next level. Not only that, it's cross-functional within the entity, it's actually cross-entity, right? So they are able to, even with a lot of subsidiaries, they are able to run collectively, digitally as one. More than 5 million processes on the average every year is running across headquarters and subsidiaries. At the same time, they also take this to the next level. They want to be able to enable, right, with this kind of organization, how they can still have that organizational level resilience and agility. So instead of giving AgilePoint to each subsidiary to build their own version of processes, for example, a PO process, they can create one PO process solution, and that can be dynamically mass individualized and adapted for different subsidiaries. Not only they can leverage this to deliver the exponential value, but they also enable a composable business. So now let's summarize. Key takeaway number one, this is where we are right now, our current paradigm. Business have to rely on IT to access technology, right? So if we are leveraging no-code and low-code, but in a way that is disconnected, right? So we have this governance and sustainability gap, then this will never be sustainable. If this is what you are approaching right now, then definitely want to think twice. Takeaway number two, if we now be able to actually identify a layered and extensible local no-code platform, right? So the business can work on the local layer, but everything here is actually IT can work on the local layer to be able to extend and govern, then this is what we believe. Not only it can be sustainable citizen development, it can actually be sustainable in a large enterprise. Key takeaway number three, take a look at, are you achieving digitization or digital optimization or digital transformation? So if you're still hand coding today, right, most likely, yeah, you can do digitization, but you probably most likely will stuck there. But if you start looking at leveraging different local no-code to be able to do that, and your local tool actually is rely on code generation, and your no-code tool is actually the task-specific type of no-code tool, then most likely you will get to deliver incremental improvement for different functional areas, but will be limited to digital optimization. But if you are able to identify a layered, extensible local no-code platform, and especially underlying is based on abstraction framework architecture, so it eliminates technical debt. At the same time, it's actually also enable that model-driven, model-based development and execution. So that's really sustainable empowerment and democratization of development for citizen developers. Then this is when we are able to really enable that enterprise level citizen development to deliver the new ways of value creation and new business models. And because when we get to this level, we are able to now address those three key reasons that McKinsey has identified why digital transformation failed. Right now, we can get management support because we are no longer just deliver incremental improvement now, because we now have new ways of creating exponential value. We can streamline cross-silo collaboration because this is all about can create cross-functional automation at scale. And we can expand employee engagement because we can further empower, right? We can empower every employee with sustained governance. Key takeaway number four. All right, so now let's kind of summarize that. If we only care about deliver incremental efficiency and productivity gain at the functional specific level, then code generation low-code and task-specific no-code tool, or even RPA will be fine. But if we are looking to really deliver digital transformation, as we define to achieve agile operating model with cross-functional automation at scale, then that's when we need layered and extensible local no-code application platform, because this enable us to really be able to transform to become a digital business and be able to create future-proof configurable applications and achieve organizational resilience and agility, and also become a composable business. Finally, quickly about AgilePoint. So we believe we're the first in the industry to deliver that layered local no-code process and application platform to enable citizen development in the enterprise. And we didn't just create that overnight or in a few years. We actually started out in 2003 with that local no-code innovation. Today, we have more than 1,000 customers worldwide. Our customers are fairly evenly distributed across North America, EMEA, and APAC, and span in more than 10 different vertical industries. And to support a lot of our global enterprise, we have offices and teams globally. We continue to push the envelope of citizen development. Here are a few very inspiring stories I just cannot wait to share with you. For example, Michael is, he has a mathematics degree, and after that he worked at a supermarket chain as a floor supervisor, and then he responded to join the internship program, like we call it business automation developers coding skill non-mandatory program. And today he's a social application developer in one of the very large high-tech companies. And we further push the envelope. As you can see here, Paulo and Ross, they hold high school diploma, and they all did very interesting work before, and they responded to the program. And today, they are actually creating automation applications as system developers. Extremely inspiring. And we believe that the exponential value creation opportunity is really there, and when we are able to rescale or upscale our workforce. So finally, I'm sure that you must have a lot of questions, and I love to hear and learn your perspective, because I always learn a lot when I get to discuss and listen to others' perspectives. So feel free to connect with me, and I look forward to speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.